Hello, everybody. What's up? I am the Sports Judge. Welcome. We're less than 24 hours away from the NFL draft. I am pumped up. It's one of the most exciting times on the sports calendar. Where Michael Penix Jr. lands in this week's draft has been one of the most polarizing debates over the past couple of months. Where will he land in the 2024 NFL draft? Where would he fit well? There was an article in the New York Post breaking down potential landing spots, looking at which team would be interested, which team would choose him with their pick if he's available. So let's look at the odds predictions for Michael Penix Jr. The favorite to land Penix is the Raiders at plus 200 on DraftKings, while the Vikings are second at plus 400. Minnesota currently picks at number 11. The Seattle Seahawks, the Denver Broncos, and the New England Patriots round out the top five. I think teams will be looking at him. I don't think his draft stock took much of a beating in that national championship loss to Michigan, but I think when looking at his resume and what he did at Washington, a team will still be in need of a quarterback, and they will certainly go with Michael Penix Jr. despite his rough injury history. And that's how I look at it. And see, that's what I like, is that he's tough as nails. The adversity he faced shaped his character. It made him who he is as a person. Here's the thing, though. I don't know. Now, there is speculation Penix could go as high as number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. There's been a lot of discussion about whether or not he could be targeted early in the second round. I guess we won't really know until Thursday night, but I think he could go off the board earlier than anyone expected. I don't know if Penix goes in the first round or as early as the second round, but everything that you continue to hear is that the Raiders are going with Michael Penix Jr. There's all sorts of talk about them selecting a quarterback even after they signed Gardner Minshew and still have their 2023 fourth round pick, Aiden O'Connell. I think they are going to go quarterback based off of Michael Penix Jr.'s ceiling of somewhere around number 13 in the draft. And let's say if they strike out on trading up for LSU's Jaden Daniels, another preferable choice because of the connection that he has with Antonio Pierce, Penix could be a consolation prize. And I have heard consistently that the Raiders do like Michael Penix Jr. a lot. You can't really tune this noise out. The consensus around the league is that he's a realistic option for the Raiders at number 13. The whispers are getting louder that the Raiders really like him. There's a lot of talk about him going to Vegas. It's an ideal scenario for a young quarterback to try to come in and get his career started. That's the most likely scenario. They have a nice receiver room with Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers on board. Hunter Renfrow won't be back. We know that. Not a big deal when you have the other two guys I mentioned. Assuming the Raiders go with Michael Penix, he will have a slew of talented weapons to throw to. I think the Raiders are a quarterback away from challenging the Kansas City Chiefs. They now have the coach in Antonio Pierce. They added Christian Wilkins, which greatly bolsters their defense. Penix Jr. would put them in the same improvement company as the Houston Texans. They'll at least make the playoffs if they get Penix, I think. I like Michael Penix a lot. I think he's a really good prospect despite what transpired with him in the title game where he was bruised, battered, and beaten up. There was this misguided narrative that he was a second round quarterback, but now the expectation is Michael Penix will be a first round selection. And he's seeing significant first round buzz. Penix has a floor of being a serviceable backup for years. But I think what we don't say enough about him is that he has the ceiling of a pro bowler wherever he goes. I think we're underselling what he can become. Denver is another team you're hearing that could potentially turn to Penix to be the Broncos' savior. They had this weird scenario where they would make the playoffs, and instead they ended up missing the playoffs. The quarterback they traded for got released. Now the organization is eating dead money in the aftermath of an ugly divorce. And if you're Sean Payton, you want your own guy and not someone you inherited. So I know they're looking to draft a quarterback. Peyton really didn't want Wilson. Never looked comfortable letting him run his offense. He never looked comfortable running his offense through Russell. Denver has to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year. And in order to be competitive in the AFC West, you need a quarterback. Denver is in a really tough spot because they don't have a second rounder. So you have to get this one right. And as always, all anyone can say is that the Broncos are a quarterback away from the playoffs. Depends on what quarterback you go with. I look at this team, although coming off a disappointing season, Denver has a ton of weapons. Then you look at what Vance Joseph was able to do with that defense in what was an incredible turnaround. So maybe Denver, when looking at this team, really is close to being contenders. Maybe they are. If Denver is unable to trade up into the top 5, it could potentially trade back a few spots in the first round and select Penix. I think he'll be satisfied with that because Penix clearly has shown interest in playing for Peyton. The Vikings are another team that comes to mind. They're in the market for a new quarterback after Kirk Cousins' departure. He signed with the Atlanta Falcons in free agency. So now Minnesota has set itself up to potentially trade up for a new quarterback by acquiring an additional first round pick after a trade with the Houston Texans. If Penix goes there, he'll have a nice supporting cast as well with Justin Jefferson, Pro Bowl running back Aaron Jones, and two-time Pro Bowl tight end TJ Hawkinson, and 2023 first-round receiver Jordan Addison. As this draft approaches, I indeed think Michael Penix Jr. will climb the boards, and he has. I feel good about him. I think this misguided narrative about him being a safe pick is silly. I happen to think Penix will be nice in the NFL. Great dude, throws a great ball. I love the arm strength. Very good pocket passer. He throws the prettiest ball. I mean, that is the prettiest ball. His personality, the maturity, the way he handles the moment, he really has the abilities to be a terrific quarterback. Only issue is the injury history that a lot of people make a big thing about. That's what you hear about all the time. That's what you hear about with him all the time. The knee injuries, shoulder injuries. This, though, has been the story of his career, but every time he responds, he overcomes, and his story is a beautiful one. It's one of those comeback stories that inspire us all. It seems like every time he gets hit or knocked to the ground, he gets back up and shows the entire world that he is not done. And when he's playing, when he's healthy, he has an impact on the game. Last season, he was one of the most exciting players in college football. The thing about Penix I like is his humility, leadership qualities, and work ethic. I think wherever he goes, he'll make an immediate impact and grow in this league very quickly. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate the love and support. You guys are awesome. We'll talk very soon. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Have a good night, everyone. Peace.